All right, family, back at it again. Sean C. GMOGMediaTV, live in the flesh. Playing around with my backgrounds, as you can see. Just playing around to see how y'all like it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to keep things fresh and crisp and keep the content flowing. You know, and giving my thoughts and opinions pertaining to issues in black society and offering suggestions on how to eradicate systemic oppression, aka white supremacy. You know, this is what this channel is about. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and make sure you hit that bell notification icon, family. All right, so let's get right into the topic. So I can imagine the last day or so that what's been buzzing was the recent interview with Killer Mike. Shout out to Killer Mike. Shout out to ATL, man. When I go to ATL, there's one place I want to go to that I keep seeing on Instagram. It's called Slutty Vegan. That I be seeing all kinds of, and they did a great job marketing that place too. They get all kinds of ATL celebrities, socialites, eating their food, and you know it's pretty crazy. So I want to check them out when I go to ATL. But Killer Mike was on the Breakfast Club. Of course, DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God, and they did an interview. Great interview, by the way. Killer Mike was promoting his show that's on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm gonna definitely check it out on Netflix. That he got a show on, and DJ Envy and Killer Mike, they got into a heated discussion. You can call it a discussion or a debate, whatever you want to call it. And regardless of how you feel about whether you think, you know, public school or private school is better, and I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions about that later on, but I just want to share, you know, my commentary on the actual interview with Killer Mike on the Breakfast Club. Like I said, it's a great interview, man. And Killer Mike is definitely one of, you know, not only a dope rapper, but just a prolific speaker because of course he has, you know, an MC background, so he's able to convey messages very well. And how he was breaking stuff down about public school and how we're taxpayers and stuff like that was pretty damn good. But I found that overall the big picture is that between DJ Envy and Killer Mike discussing education and discussing the pitfalls of education versus, you know, public school versus private school, etc. They had a heated discussion, a heated debate about which was better and that kind of thing. But the thing about it is that I'm glad they had a heated, passionate discussion, because they showed black people what to be passionate about. Things that matter, like education, like our children. Those things matter. Instead of you seeing these niggas on Instagram fighting over who said what first, who did what to who, what kind of, you know, what kind of outfit you got on, what kind of drip you got on, whoever did that first and said that kind of rhyme scheme first. Just insignificant things we beef and fight over, and sometimes more than likely kill over each other over petty bullshit. But yeah, you got two men, and of course, again, it was just a heated debate, heated discussion, and after that they shook hands and kept it moving. It was all love. But they were passionate about things that actually matter, things that black society needs, of course, to pay more attention to. We need to have, and I'm going to speak about all school aspects, public school, private school, homeschooling, you know, etc. I'm going to speak on all that a little bit later. But just in terms of the interview itself, it was great because, again, they showed, DJ Envy and Killer Mike showed what to be passionate about. It's our children, our black children, and education. That's one thing we can be passionate about and one thing we can fight over. You know what I mean? Truth be told, we can fight over that, not in some petty bullshit like, you know, inanimate objects and things that depreciate in value, right? Materialistic things, stuff like that. You know what I mean? But so in terms of the interview, right, with Killer Mike and on the Breakfast Club, especially the topic we're talking about public school versus private school. Both, I would say that both Killer Mike and DJ Envy has some good points. I can speak from my experience. I have 3 boys who all attend public school. So I'm gonna start with my youngest first. My youngest son, for those of you who don't know, he's 5 years old. He's a special needs child. Okay. He originally went to a school and I live in Miami Gardens. I always say Miami Gardens is the blackest city in the state of Florida. It has the highest populated people that are classified as black or African American. It's Miami Gardens, Florida. So my youngest son, who's special needs, went to a school last year that specialized in special needs education. Okay, which is called SPED, Special Needs Education. Now, this particular school was rated or on the grade level of C. It was basically an average school. And I could tell because, you know, everything from top to bottom was pretty average. Like their building structure, their faculty, their curriculum were pretty just average, right? So he went to that school last year, and I transferred him to another school, which is actually a B school, grade letter B school. This school is a lot better, a lot more hands-on with my child, and I see a night and day improvement of my child's behavior, my child's vocabulary, just overall his whole demeanor is completely different than how he was treated at the C school in Miami Gardens, right? So when it comes to public school, you know, you got to do your research. As a parent, you can't. It's not just about putting your child in the closest school that's near your home. You know, it's about making sure that you do the research and finding out the staff, the faculty, the grade level of the school, what kind of curriculum they have. You got to do your own background. You got to interview. Now, that's what I do when I research these schools that are near my home. I research from top to bottom, and I visit the schools physically, and I do an interview with the school. I do a sightseeing tour of the school, and I interview staff members and stuff like that. So my other two kids, they also go to a public school, but it's a charter school, right? And this charter school actually this past year was rated at the National Ribbon Award for one of the top schools in the country. All right, it was awarded that last year, the National Ribbon Award for one of the top charter schools in the country, or just the top schools period in the U.S. And they've been going to that school for the past 2.5 years. And again, before that school, I had them in another school that was basically a D school, below average school. And putting them in this school, night and day. Night and day. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they're that school that they go to, my two other children, that particular school is one of the top best schools in the country. It's gotten a National Ribbon Award. Okay, so you know, for me that says a lot. And it's an A school. It's been an A school for the past 10 years. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why I put them in that school. And that particular school is not quite near my community. It's actually about a 20-minute drive, right? But I have to make a sacrifice and put my kids in the best school that I find. That's what I do. You know what I mean? And the thing about private schools is that there are some private schools in my city, in Miami Gardens. But guess what? Those schools are well, actually, no. There's two private schools that I know of in Miami Gardens, and they're both C schools. They're average schools. I know that one of the schools that are private schools, they have an annual tuition of $9,000, $9,000, but yet it's an average school. The grade letter is an average school. You know what I mean? Like, so, and that's the reason why I put him in the school they're in now, which has been an A school for the last 10 years, and it's one of the top schools in the country, recognized with the National Blue Ribbon Award. You know what I mean? So, for me, like I said, it's about the parent doing their own research. And not only that, you just can't really depend on the school system to educate your child. You have to also do home correctness. You know, so teach the things that the schools don't teach your child. And that's a part of homeschooling. So if you, as far as homeschooling and home education, if you are not able to do that full time, you can still home correct and homeschool your child by teaching them things they don't teach your children at, you know, public schools, etc. And that's what I try to do. You know what I mean? Not try. That's what I do. Is I home correct them on situations and things that they learn and things that they may not learn. They may come across later on and ask me about, and I'll teach them and tell them about it. Right? That's your job as a parent to do that. So that's my point. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, for me, like I said, as far as public schools is concerned, I do my research. I'm very detailed oriented, and I make sure that the schools that my children go to are top notch and they match what I'm looking for to instill in my children. Right, whether it comes to public schools or public schools that specialize in special needs children, etc. I do my background checks and I do thorough research. And like I said, not all private schools, just because you have an annual tuition doesn't mean that they're good. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's all about, at the same time, you know, depending on where you live, right? If you live in a predominantly black community like I do, of course, you know, it's called education redlining. Based off your zip code, they're going to depreciate these schools. They're going to be underfunded. They're going to be devalued, and therefore your children are going to lack the resources and the education and the tools to empower themselves to move forward. So when you have things like that, where your child has to overcome those particular obstacles because of the lack of education, the lack of resources, the lack of jobs, and also all kinds of red tape, in order for them to succeed, that makes them have a harder time to get to where they need to go in life. That's a part, again, education redlining, based off your zip code and where you live. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, you know, there's a neighboring city in Miami-Dade County called Aventura. Aventura is more upper echelon, more affluent. It's a more affluent community. So they have actually they're going to have a high school that they're building out right now, and it's actually going to be a charter school. Now, I've done my research on that school. It is a very, very highly taught or touted school, right? And it's going to have a lot of backing for that particular area, because that area is, again, it's more affluent, right? And there's another neighboring school that's actually been founded by Alonzo and Tracy Morning High School. That's in North Miami Beach, right? And that's also a charter school that's also very touted, right? And backed by a lot of people. All right, and most of them, you know, if you want to, you know, break it down in terms of who's backing them, of course, most of the donors that are giving back to these schools are non-black. We know this. So when you got white funded schools, but it's up to us to circulate our dollar and contribute to our own schools, our education, etc. That's how we empower ourselves, and that's how we practice group economics, like other ethnic groups, like the so-called Jewish community. They do it all the time. They got their own schools, they got their own hospitals, their own ambulances, They have their own infrastructure, and we still don't. So that's another thing we got to work on as well. You know what I mean? So, like I said, going back to the DJ Envy Killer Mike debate / heated, discussion or whatever the case may be, they both had some good points. I think DJ Envy was actually seeing things from a myopic point of view. Obviously, he's rich. He has a lot of money. He's a millionaire. So he's only going to see things from his vantage point. And he has the mentality of, I'm never going back to my old situation. I came from the bottom, and I don't want to look back. So he has that myopic mentality where he says, my son, he has his own business. Of course, your son has his own business because of you. You're funding his business, right? It's not like he, came out of nowhere and started his own business with his own money. No, it was from your money, your thoughts, your ideology. He got that from you. You know what I'm saying? So that really has nothing to do with private schools or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? It's because you're well connected and you have a lot of resources to get the things that your children can take advantage of. You know what I mean? So at the same time, for Killer Mike, has some good points, but at the same time, his vantage point was from a working class, like he said, from a working class ideology of black society, where most of us have our children in public schools. Now, he's speaking from the vantage point of Atlanta. That's where he lives. He lives in Atlanta. Now, Atlanta, their school system is actually pretty goddamn good. Really good, actually. You know what I mean? So a lot of, there's not a lot of cities like Atlanta that have that kind of school system where it's so structured, right? I think Miami-Dade County school system is very, it's not only destructured, but it is marginalized and it's disenfranchised. Again, based off where you live, you're going to get better schools. Like my two children who go to the top school, one of the top schools in the country, the area of where they go to school is extremely good. While the schools in Miami Gardens, like the private schools that I mentioned, average to below average. Then you have a neighboring city that's like Aventura, more affluent. You have heavily touted and backed schools that are also A schools. So it depends on your zip code and where you live, right? So again, our area is Miami-Dade County is very disenfranchised and marginalized when it comes to education redlining. You know what I mean? So, but overall, man, like I said, it was a good show, a good interview with Killer Mike. You know what I mean? And again, it's something to be passionate about. You got to be passionate about things that matter, like education and your children. That's one thing to be passionate about, and it showed during that discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, with Killer Mike and DJ Envy. So I applaud both of them, man. I really applaud both of those guys for having a lot of passion and a lot of wherewithal when it comes to our children and education. That's the key. So yeah, those are my thoughts about that, family. Leave your thoughts about the interview with Killer Mike and DJ Envy. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at GMOGMediaTV, family. Make sure you stay tuned for more content. If you're new again, please subscribe and hit that bell notification icon, family. Until next time, Sean C, GMOGMediaTV signing out. Peace.